Hey cookers, this is going to be a meatloaf and then I'm going to have some fried taters and some green beans with it. I'm going to be using my oven. I've got my oven preheated to 410 degrees. We're going to do this in 30 minutes. It might take a little more, might take a little less, but something like that. We're cooking with Jill. Welcome to my kitchen. Alright, so I've got my timer set on my nuker, set to 30 minutes. Let me press start. All right, so that's working. And I'm trying to make this as realistic as possible, including the time to get everything out of the refrigerator. So I have staged this stuff so it's easy to get to. So what are we going to put into this meatloaf? So this is my start with this seasoning blend. So this is just equal parts salt, pepper, garlic, and onion powder. And there we go. I'm going to put about 3 tablespoons of this in there. I'm going to put about 1.5 tablespoons in there. We're going to do a couple things with this onion. One, we're going to grate about half this onion and put it in the meatloaf, and the other half we're going to season up the fried taters and the green beans with it. So you want a good sharp knife like these Ninja Never Dull knives. You can just sharpen them real quick, and that sharpener over there in the block, it does a really nice job. These knives are about 5 years old, and they're still pretty much razor sharp. So I'm gonna get my grater out. Here we go, and I'm just gonna grate this thing up. There we go. That's pretty good. Don't quite have half an onion there, but that's okay. I'll just chop up the rest of this onion and put it in the green beans and the potatoes. Let me chop the rest of this onion real quick. There we go. I think I'm finished with this knife. No further need for the knife. I'm gonna wash my hands and put this knife in the sink. I'm gonna put about a tablespoon of ketchup in here, maybe a little more. About half that much of yellow mustard. Well, that's good enough. Not a lot of Parmesan cheese. This should just be boxed Parmesan cheese. That's probably about 2 tablespoons. I'm going to put an egg in here. Okay, and then I'm going to grab some breadcrumbs. And let me put about 2 tablespoons of breadcrumbs in there. Just use your fingers and blend this together. Now, I really kind of learned this technique from Karen. She, she taught me how to make meatballs and meatloaf that turn out with a really good texture. And you're really just tossing the meat. I'm just digging my fingers down into it. And I'm not really so much squeezing the meat as much as I'm just trying to stir everything up together. Get that hamburger back in the bowl. Having a decent sized bowl is important. And you just want to mix it until, there we go. That's about the way we want it. That's mixed up pretty well. Let me push this out of the way. Now, I got my cast iron skillet here. It's well seasoned. You could fry eggs in this skillet without a problem. And you just want to form this into a loaf. You're not really pressing, you're just shaping. This is loosely packed, so I want it fairly thin, because if this is going to cook in less than 30 minutes, it needs to be fairly thin. So I'm shaping it. I'm not mashing it hard and making a hard little brick out of it. So that's that. Let me wash my hands, put this bowl away. That's about 1.75 pounds of hamburger meat there. All right, so I'm gonna put this in the oven. We got 22 minutes, and if that thing's at 410 degrees, it should be pretty close to being okay. Let me put this stuff away. I'm gonna leave this seasoning now, because I'm gonna use that seasoning. Now, aren't you glad you don't have to mess with this cooktop? You can just use your stove. So I'm gonna get this thing hot. I'm gonna put it on sear. I'm gonna take this pan out of the way for the time being. And take this lid off. Oh, I need my knife. Let me grab another cutting board. I want this to get nice and hot before I put my taters in there. So these are my prepped potatoes that I prep in my potato possible method. Put out a video on it, and all I do is just wash them. I put them in the oven, bake them at 425 for about 30, 35, 45 minutes, depending upon the size of the potato. And then I refrigerate them. And these have been in the fridge for a couple of days. So this has got really loose skin on it. I like my fried taters with the skin, but let me show you something here. I just cut that like that. This skin just pretty much just peels off this potato. So you don't really have to peel your potatoes that much. When you do this, they just kind of peel off here. Now, I'm gonna peel these potatoes, but I'm probably not gonna get all the skin off of it. Let me grab a paring knife. Here we go. This will make this easier. That paring knife would just grab that skin better than my fingers will. There we go. So, if you know somebody who wants to learn how to make a good meatloaf, frankly, like I said, Karen taught me how to make meatloaf. She does it better than I do. But if you know somebody that wants to learn how to make a good meatloaf and try to have dinner ready in 30 minutes, share this video with them. I mean, I'm doing a whole series on dinner in 30 minutes. So I think that's kind of important for people that are just looking to get dinner done and over with on a weeknight, or any night for that matter. There we go. They don't have to be perfectly peeled. That's fine. Like I said, a lot of times I just use the skins on them. All right, so this is starting to get hot. I'm gonna put some avocado oil in here. Avocado oil handles the heat pretty well. I'm gonna put about 3 tablespoons of oil in there. I might put some more in there. And then you gotta decide how you want these taters cut up. So basically, I usually just cut my tater in half about like that. Get this out of the way. And then come down here and just put it in chunks. The nice thing about these taters like this is that they're already cooked. So all we're trying to do is get them browned and crisped up a little bit. And that's potato possible thing here is what allows you to get these potatoes done in less than 30 minutes. Otherwise, you have quite a bit of time trying to fry up potatoes on a Tuesday night. So that's looking good. I'm gonna cut this in quarters. This is a thick piece of tater here. Guess I didn't need to cut that one in quarters. There we go. So now I can turn my heat down a little bit. Let me put it on 350. So that would be about 5 on your stove top, maybe 6. So I want this stuff to brown a bit. Let's season this with some of this. Start with this seasoning. You want them coated pretty good. Okay, so that's about 3/4 of a tablespoon. Sometimes when I play with this seasoning, the pepper makes me cough. I don't want to put that onion in there yet. I'm not even putting more oil in here. But I am going to put some butter in here. So butter is just going to make a nice flavor for these taters. So I guess that's probably a total of about 3 or 4 tablespoons of butter. I got these silicone utensils off of Amazon. They cost me like $25 or something. You know, that's not bad. They do really well at protecting my Ninja cookware. So you see the butter in here and the oil. Now these taters are going to soak up that butter and oil. All right, and they've already started to brown nicely. Now I'm just going to put this lid on there, and in a few minutes I'll put the onion in there. Now you could also season this with a little bit of paprika if you want. I think paprika is really good on there. I don't think I need any avocado oil, so let me put this away. Oh, we got 11 minutes left. Once again, I'm gonna put this on sear and get this hot. I'm gonna make some green beans. So this is just a bag of all these frozen green beans. And I'm just gonna dump that whole bag in there, like this. There we go. Now you need to season up these green beans. Otherwise, I don't really care for the flavor for them. You need some fat. Butter again. So let's put a couple of tablespoons of butter in there. That'll melt down. My preferred fat is bacon grease, or maybe leftover ham from, you know, a ham dinner or something like that. You could season this with just salt and pepper if you want. I'm going to use this, start with this stuff here, and that's about half a tablespoon. Okay, and I think I'm about done with that. So now let me get some onions in here. There we go. That onion's just going to give it a little bit of flavor. Just another dimension of flavor along with that butter. So now that I got that onion in there, what I want to do is just take this lid and I'm going to put maybe 4 tablespoons, quarter cup or so of water in here. There we go. Whoops, I spilt it on the cooker. So I just want to steam these green beans. I'm going to pour that in there. A little more because I spilt some. There we go. And I'm going to keep an eye on that. That's going to come and start steaming very soon. And then I'll turn the temperature down. But it's on sear to get it hot and up to temperature very quickly. These green beans won't take long to cook. All right, let's check these taters. Yeah, see, they're browning up nicely. And we don't have to worry about them cooking so much because they're already cooked. Now these taters, you could cut them up in advance and throw them in the freezer. Using my potato possible concept or method or whatever, that makes making tater side dishes and weeknights very reasonable. So now I'm going to put the rest of these onions in here. There we go. Let me spread them out. Them onions are going to give these taters a nice flavor. All right. So I'm going to let these taters steam a bit on top, and then I'll stir them down and they'll brown a little bit. But right now I just want them to steam a little bit. All right, so let's take a look at these bean greens. Yeah, see, they're up to a ball already. That's what I want. And I'm just going to stir this up a little bit so that butter gets down in there with all the bean grains and the onions and everything. Now I'm going to leave that on sear for a few more minutes. Let's take a look at our taters. Oh, they're browning up nicely. Yeah, so I just get these onions down in there, and these onions will turn nice and brown. And they'll caramelize a little bit and give these taters a good flavor. You can see here where some of these onions are already turned translucent from steaming. So this will be good. Okay, so let me check the meatloaf. Meatloaf is looking pretty good. I don't think it's going to be done in 3 minutes. I'm not sure any of this will actually be done in 3 minutes, but we're going to see. All right, I don't see myself needing any more of this. Well, you never know. I might have a surprise for you here. All right, I'm going to turn my heat down on these green beans a little bit. Down to 275. That'll be about 2 or 3 on your cooktop stove. Let's check these taters again. Yeah, I told you they would soak up that oil. Soaked up that oil and butter pretty good. Now, these taters are definitely edible right now, but I'd like them browned a little more. Let me just turn this up to 425 and just let that brown off. Them onions are done. All right, so time's up. There it goes. All right, so let's take a look at things here. Those taters are looking really good. That's about perfect. Okay, that looks really good. I'm going to take these taters off of here, and I'm just going to pause this for a minute and take these taters off, put them back here on the stove. How my bean greens look. Yeah, they look like they're tender. The onions in there are cooked nicely. Yeah, those are good. I'm just gonna leave those as they are for the time being. And then let's check this here meatloaf. That meatloaf looks pretty good. That is hot, so I'm leaving that right there. So I remember that is hot. I'm gonna get my thermometer here. I don't see any blood coming out of it. It is nice and brown on top and on the sides. Let's see how hot this is in the middle. That says 135, so that's about medium for beef. 140. I'm gonna put this back in for 5 more minutes. I actually think that we could have cooked that at 425 and it would have been done in 30 minutes. So I put everything back on here. I got the potatoes at 275. Maybe they'll brown up a little bit. There's nothing wrong with them now, but maybe let them brown. And I've got these green beans set at 100. They're 175 just to keep them good and warm. All right, so that's been 4 extra minutes, or a total of 5 extra minutes in the oven. Also bumped the oven up to 435. These taters did brown a little more here. So that looks good. I'm gonna pause this. Put that back here. Let me check that meatloaf now. So that is definitely browned a little more. Let me check it with the thermometer. I mean, that looks really good. 165, 167, 168, 169. That hamburger's done all the way through. 180, 190, 165. Yeah, that hamburger's done. So once again, I think if I'd have put that in at 425, it'd come out just fine in 30 minutes. Let's see if I can put this meatloaf over here on this platter in one piece. Look at that. That's hard to believe. We're going into bonus overtime. I'll make some gravy. Now, you ain't gotta make no gravy if you don't want to, but I want to. I'm just gonna use them drippings right there, and I'm gonna turn this back on, and I'm gonna put that at 375. Grab me some flour. So you can see that's come back up. That's actually a bit too much oil, so let me pour some of that off. Got a little metal bowl here, stainless steel bowl. It'll be fine. Yeah, that's good right there. Let me set this aside. So this cast iron skillet is still very hot. Stir this up, get that hot again. Now see all those drippings and everything in there from that meatloaf? That's gonna be good flavor. So get that close to here. We're just gonna make a roux. That's a heaping spoonful right there. You know, I'll put the rest of that oil back in here. Like that. And we want that to cook just a little bit. We want that to cook that flour so it don't taste like just paste. And I'll put another about half a heaping spoon in there. There we go. And what I do is I tend to mush it like this, and that helps prevent lumps to get that roux blended down in there. I'm going to turn this down. It's starting to really brown and stick down there. Put some H2O in here. Just add a little bit at a time. And then once again, I tend to smush this together to try to prevent it from lumping up. Okay, let's put some more in there. You could use a whisk. In fact, I probably should, but I don't. I just keep doing this. Just try to scrape that bottom, get that good brown stuff off the bottom. Yeah, that brown stuff's going to add flavor to this gravy. Maybe a little more water here. That may have been too much. Once again, you could whisk it, or you can just do this. Oh, this gravy's going to be just about right. So, I'm going to put some of the start with this in there, season up that gravy a little bit. There we go. So that was almost a tablespoon. I might put another half a tablespoon or a little more in there. Now, this is what my mama always did. So kitchen bouquet. So you put about a capful of this kitchen bouquet down in here. So it really just adds a richness, a nice caramel flavor, nice brown caramel color, and a nice rich flavor to it. There we go. I'm gonna turn this down on low. Now all I'm trying to do with this gravy is just get it mixed up real good. I'm gonna taste it in a second. Now you want that gravy to simmer. Yeah, see, it's starting to get most of that stuff off the bottom of this skillet. And that's adding flavor to this gravy. And that gravy's pretty smooth. And that's just pieces of that meatloaf down in that gravy. Let me grab a spoon, taste this gravy. That gravy's good. It's really good. I don't think I'm gonna put anything else in it. That's a mess of fried taters. And now these green beans along here. Are you hungry? Karen says yeah, she's been waiting too long. All right, let me get a bowl for this gravy. This gravy's done. And there we go. We got meatloaf with fried taters, nicely seasoned green beans, and some gravy. Done in about 40 minutes, 35 if I didn't make the gravy. So, go Hawks. Share this with a friend who would like to make a good meatloaf and do dinner in about 30, 40 minutes on a Tuesday night. Have fun.